My name is Brother Herman of MakeTheTruth.org. We are a nonprofit organization who's been commissioned by our Holy Trinity and to be used to restore values back into our communities less fortunate. We'll be solely funded by our communities most fortunate, which are the ones who have received the correct informations, turned it into knowledge by operating in these correct informations, which therefore they have prospered and been recompensed in the form of an abundant lifestyle or living. They have went from the merely existing state of living or existing to the truly state of living or alive and well. And their walk demonstrates and speaks loudly of it. The communities less fortunate are those who are lacking the correct informations. The communities less fortunate are those who are still running around in circles chasing after these answers that they have many questions presenting to the world and the creations of the world, rather than looking up at the creator of creations and asking their questions, their pertinent questions, to the source of all resources. We are teaching these correct information and the correct knowledge to the communities less fortunate, because we are beginning to be sick and tired of seeing so many of our people, that our diverse individuals that make up our communities, walk around in poverty, spiritual poverty, legal poverty, medical poverty, which means they're lacking correct information in these three different areas. So we're being used to restore values back into these three different areas. The values are the correct informations and the righteous knowledge. What that once walked in, operated in, and tasted and seeing how sweet it is, will bring forth a fruit that can only lead us to abundant living. We are dealing with a nonprofit organization called MakeTheTruth.org. I am Brother Herman, the founder, the operator, the president of it, but I'm also a servant. I have many partners that are going to be used to assist me in this endeavor to restore values back into our communities, one soul, one case, one individual at a time. And I also have dealings with outreaches, many different outreaches that are going to be joining onto team very soon and soon and soon. So we are relying solely upon Holy Trinity's power to grow us, and the assistance of Holy Trinity's creation, which is the community's most fortunate, can do just that. If you would like to assist us, you can go to our homepage of MakeTheTruth.org, click on the red button that says to assist us, and it'll take you right to the youcaring.com/our children's children -761449 site that will allow you to assist us with any donation of your choosing. We would thank you for this donation as well. If you would like to use an independent site, you can go to the GoFundMe.com/MakeTheTruth-org, and you can donate there as well. Whatever you're moved to give, we're going to use it to restore values by creating motions, petitions, writs for the legal sector of our endeavor, as well as the spiritual lines and medical lines to be opened up so that we can give forth the proper, correct informations in the form of counseling back into those who are moved to call in. On the third page of the MakeTheTruth.org website, you can find an assessment application form. Fill it out in its entirety. We're asking that you do that. And where it says comment, put spiritual, legal, or medical need, and we will have someone that is certified in that area, ordained by God, to give a call back to you within 24 hours. You submit it and it'll come directly to us, and we thank you for your donations, and we thank you for your outreach, for your cries. We're going to answer every cry. We're sick and tired of these cries going unanswered, and we're going to become useful being part of the solution, transforming from being part of the problem to part of the solution. And we want to see more of us, and the only way to see more of us is to go out and teach one. So each one must teach one. Iron sharpens iron, and that is what we've decided to do. A made-up mind can do just that. But when you're unmade up and you're still chasing around creation because you're looking for all the right answers, then all the answer is to become sick and tired and cry out to the creator of all creation, and you'll get that. Series 1 was entitled The Birthright, and it tells about the correct information and knowledge of where we come from. That is the birthright, because it must be passed down from generation to generation, from father to son or mother to daughter and parent to child, Otherwise, that child is not going to have the training that they need to be reared up in. And when they stray, they're going to get stuck out there in the world. And a lot of heartache and damage will be done. A lot of sin will be tacked on. And they will have to go through a lot of mischief and a lot of misery that could have been avoided had they been trained up in the way that they should go, like Proverbs tells us. My people perish for lack of knowledge. I love that phrase because it's Hosea 4:6, speaking of Jesus, when Jesus said that my people perish for lack of knowledge. He meant that. For not to have the correct information and the right knowledge operating in that, you're going to be chasing fleetlessly in vanity, and you're never going to find that which fulfills that void that was left on purpose that's in your heart. The only one that can fill that is the creator of that heart. And so we must cry out and ask for that answer and that correct information. And that was in series 2 as well. And so we've touched on series 1, the birthright. Series 2 was the mind and the character of how we are to operate in while we're in the flesh down here on earth. We started in the spirit because all things start in the spirit, to restore values back into our diverse individuals that make up our communities. Why did we do that? Because God is spirit. And all things start with God and end with God. So we started there. We only thought it necessary to do that. Series 3 talked about the frequently asked questions. And that is the questions that are being asked repeatedly and not receiving the satisfactory answers that fulfills the thirst of the knowledge or the thirst for the information. And so we're Make Them See the Truth is going to play the whole tape, and we've decided to be used to do just that. So we allow the Holy Spirit to deliver through us, and we allow the truth to be told so that it can play the whole tape and you can get a 100% satisfactory answer to your many questions. That was Frequently Asked Questions Series 3. Series 4 is the legal matters, and we're touching on all of these amendments that are violated, basic violations that will allow our bodies to go inside of captivity unwarranted, but all things will be allowed to happen by our Holy Trinity for the glory of them and the benefit of mankind as a whole when we finally make it through the reason why it happened. The reason why most of these wrongful convictions are allowed to take place is because we were running around in the world chasing after creations instead of stopping and listening to the Creator. So he allowed some things to happen so he can sit us down, so that he can pour into our understanding of who we are and what we're created to be. We can find the answers of that in Ecclesiastes 12 through 13, when it says, let's hear the whole matter the matter. Let's hear the conclusion of the whole matter, and that is to serve our Lord Jesus, our Father God, with all our mind, body, heart, and soul. We are to do that and only that, but we don't come in the world being taught that, many of us, and that is the birthright that is not being given to us. So we have to come to an end of self, cry out at when we hit our rock bottom, and ask that question of, are you real, God? And if you are, show me. And he will, because he has been waiting on you to come to an end of yourself, like he was waiting on me to come to an end of myself, and a lot of my business partners to come to an end of themselves, so that he can deliver the correct, honest truth to us, because he has to wait. Why? Because there's a battle over the soul, and this battle must be fair. So we answer the correct truths so that you can operate in the right understanding, the right informations, which will give you a higher understanding, so that you can understand what it is that you're going through when the life's many trials and tests present themselves, and you won't feel like you're helpless or hopeless. That is what the truth is designed to do. It is designed to bring us understanding, which creates hope in that which we cannot see, which is our Creator, the Holy Trinity. Now, we're into Series 4, which is talking about the legal matters. And the legal matters are our 4th Amendments, 5th Amendments, 6th Amendment, and the 14th Amendment rights. There are a lot of different stipulations and statutes that lie up under each amendment, but we're talking about the basic statutes that are being violated or allowed to be violated, sometimes in knowledge and sometimes in ignorance, but oftentimes in knowledge, because we, as the victim or the accuser, don't know law. We don't know law. Only the one who went to school knows law. And so we're resting heavily or relying upon heavily someone who we don't even know, a stranger, to depend on them to defend us when it comes time for our need or our day in court. These things are sometimes done maliciously, like violating the rights, which can cause us to experience a false arrest, a illegal detention, or a failure to be represented by our trial counsels, our public defenders, and or being wrongfully convicted, which is an unconstitutional conviction in most often cases, such as my own. Although I am in the court system in an ongoing matter, I'm not going to talk about my case, but I will talk about the foundations or the format of my case, because I'm allowed to do that, to use it as a tool or a blueprint to show you what is going on and why it is being allowed to happen. We covered we covered factual basis in Part B. Part A was a rundown or a summation of the 14th, the 6th, the 5th, and the 4th Amendment rights, constitutional amendments that we have. It was just a summation. That was Part A. Part B was the factual basis in detail or in depth, if you will. Part C was on the show cause order. Part C was on the ineffective assistance of counsel or the right to competent counsel. Part D was the show cause, the Fifth Amendment show cause rights, and what happens when they don't have enough incriminating evidence to illegally or detain your body legally inside of a jailhouse or a jail system. In the last part, which is Part E, we're going to be covering today, which is on probable cause. Probable cause is probably the most important of them all, because all criminal matters usually starts here, and that is the probable cause or the incriminating evidence that the prosecutor will use against you, if it is enough to use against you in the court of law. The incriminating evidence will make up a factual basis or a foundation to bring your body or person in front of a judge or a courtroom, so that we can create a jurisdiction for trying, and concluding the case. For failure to have the right evidence or enough evidence against you that is incriminating, overwhelmingly pointing towards your guilt, no jury will find you guilty, and no judge, well, I should say most judges will not find you guilty. But when you have enough evidence against you, then a jury will find you guilty and a judge will find you guilty legally. But what happens? Let's talk about what happens when there is not enough evidence that is being presented or portrayed, shall we say, against you. Well, that looks like a form of coercion or a form of trickery, doesn't it? It should, because it's true when there is not enough against you. This is what probable cause really means. We're going to read it in its entirety so that we can fully understand what it means. And the reason why we do that is so that you can have a clear understanding of what they need when they say they have probable cause or reasonable grounds, enough so to bring you in front of, or to bring you inside of a jail in order to get you in front of a courtroom. Probable cause, and it reads like so. It says reasonable grounds for making a search or pressing charges, etc. I didn't think that that was good enough, so I went up and I looked up reasonable grounds, and I wanted to see what reasonable grounds really means. And reasonable grounds really means that if there is enough testimony against you that is coming from a credible witness, which would be then classified as a material witness, or the victim looked like she or he was credible, maybe had some evidential visual evidence of something being done to their persons, or maybe was a well-known individual in our society or our communities, that their word has enough weight that if they make an accusation and it's made believable by an arresting officer or an investigating officer, that can be looked upon or reviewed as reasonable grounds. But what happens when there is no such thing that is in place? What happens when there's not enough credible witnesses that are against you? What happens when there is no eyewitness testimony? What happens when there's not enough visual evidence, incriminating evidence that can be held against you and used upon as reasonable grounds? What happens when the police officer was not around when he draws up his affidavit, his police affidavit, and he says that he is making a report based on hearsay, telephone knowledge, or based on hearsay, a witness that overheard somebody talking, and now he's taking a statement from them, but they was never on the scene to see you do or say anything? What happens then is all you have is a police report or a police affidavit. And if it does not place the police there on the scene, then it's nothing more than a piece of paper that says what could have transpired. If there is no one there to give eyewitness testimony, or if there is no victim eyewitness testimony statements, material signed witness statements, which is called signed testimony, sworn signed testimony, signed sworn affidavits, then there is nothing more against you but an accusation. Accusations are good enough to maybe take a look at you, but anything less than that, which is the accusation by itself, coupled with nothing more than just the accusation, is nothing more than hearsay. That is not enough reasonable grounds to arrest you. That is not enough reasonable grounds to hold you in from a show cause hearing or a show cause order. So therefore, the show cause order cannot be signed. And for it to be signed and for them to hold you without these types of sustaining, incriminating evidences, well, that is indicative of violating your Fifth Amendment right as well as your Fourth Amendment right, because you've been arrested in order to be held illegally. If the arresting officer arrests you based on hearsay, that is a false arrest. It is an illegal arrest, one that has to be proven, but once proven, that is the ending result to that matter. Therefore, there is no factual basis to bring you in front of a judge because there is no jurisdiction established. Now, probable cause. Reasonable grounds for making a search, pressing charges, making an arrest. What happens when there is none? What happens is that you are now being falsely arrested, and everything that happens after that is null and void. Why? Because you have to first start the criminal procedure with a legitimate, righteous arrest. If the arrest or the probable cause was tainted or erred in any way, then the arrest has to be reversed and it becomes a false arrest, so that the holding inside of the jailhouse becomes illegal. Illegal detainment or false imprisonment is the label for that. That is a violation of your Fourth and Fifth Amendment. Now, if your trial attorney does not go behind the prosecutor or the police officer and make sure that the police officer has the testimony against you, the signed, sworn testimony against you, because he has the power to swear that witness who is testifying against you. He has the right to swear that victim who is testifying against you. If he has not done that or has not obtained that and only is operating off of a hearsay affidavit called a police report, that is not enough reasonable grounds to arrest you. If the trial counsel fails to investigate for you or I, then they fail us in a harmful manner, because it becomes an act of ineffective assistance of counsel. or incompetence, that we can now prove a lack of having representation, proper representation, which falls up under the Sixth Amendment right. When this takes place, a lot of things are going to happen. Some heads are going to roll. And that is what generally happens only when we take time to go behind our trial attorneys to make sure and certain that they took time to go behind the police officer who should have taken time to do his job, dot his I's and cross his T's, his or her I's and T's. They should have had these I's dotted, these T's crossed. They should have had every evidence that they said they had against you in place so that the prosecutor, when they give that police report over or that evidence over to the prosecutor has enough grounds to take to a show cause judge or a grand jury. Up north, there's a grand jury. They have enough evidence to take to them to ask for your body to be held while he puts together his case and bring you to a proper forum, which is the courtroom, because he's righteously established jurisdiction to hear your matter before a judge, or to have your matter placed before a judge. Failure for him to do that, that is prosecutorial misconduct. If he fails to gather enough evidence against you and still brings you in front of a judge and tries to present a case without these incriminating evidences, now he is seeking a conviction by any means necessary instead of justice by any means necessary, which is what his duty or his job calls for. Okay? So there's case law to back up everything that Make 'Em See the Truth presents to you. All we have to do is Google these key phrases or these key titles, which is the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, and the 14th Amendment. Google those and you will see that Brother Herman is telling you the truth. Failure for your trial attorney to go behind the police officer. Failure for the prosecutor to go behind the police officer. Failure for your trial attorney to go behind the prosecutor. Failure for the show cause judge to go behind the prosecutor. There is a lot of policing that needs to be done in order to get our bodies in front of a judge or inside of a courtroom legally, fairly, justly, or else there is no factual basis for you to be standing there or I to be standing there, because there is no jurisdiction for our bodies to be present. But one would never know this if one does not know the correct informations of what they're being accused of, or the correct informations of how to argue against the claim that is an unjust claim or a non-meritorious claim. Because it's an accusation doesn't make it true. Because it's a fact doesn't make it truth. Truth does not change. Facts can be manipulated and twisted, but the truth cannot. That is why our organization is Make 'Em See the Truth, not Make 'Em See the Facts, because facts are people oriented. Truth is spiritually oriented. Facts is flesh. Truth is spirit. All things start in the spirit, so we must operate on the truth. The courtroom will operate on facts. They don't want to hear about the truth, because if they hear about the truth shall set a lot of us free that has been wrongfully arrested, falsely arrested, illegally detained, and unconstitutionally convicted. If we present the truth to them, it'll set us free. If we present the facts to them, it can keep us bound. Why? Because the facts can be manipulated. The facts can be twisted against you or I. Those who are communities less fortunate. We didn't have the education or the knowledge. We didn't grow up into the legal world or the system. We didn't go to school for 13 years. So we must rely on people who have. And a lot of the times we're relying on people who are eating with the state, playing with the state, and get paid by the state. Yet we're thinking that they're going to have our best interests at heart and in mind. That's not necessarily the case most of the time. Every now and then you'll find a good apple in that bunch. But most of the time we have to go behind these people. And the only way you're going to go behind and police a person that has 13 years of education is to learn the game. In order to beat someone at their game, you must learn their game. That is why God has commissioned Make 'Em See the Truth. We have like-minded people on our organization. We have like-minded people that we partner up with, network with, like-minded people that we reach out and outreach reaches in. We have like-minded people. Why? Because we're so sick and tired of our people walking around in ignorance without the correct knowledge, the correct informations. So we grew an empathy because it was allowed to become personal. It became personal because God allowed it to happen to us. There is a lot of us on the team of Make Them See the Truth, Cons Helping Cons, that this happened too. So therefore we grew an empathy and a compassion to give back that which was freely given to us. Now we can restore truths back into the community, which will bring value back into the perceptions, which will cause our people to start having hope because they see what's really going on, which they can speak life now over the matters that they're allowed to experience, which will then produce a more godly, righteous result. If we can't understand what's going on, we can't speak life. We can only speak death, which means we're going to keep ourselves in the bound state. We are come to free. That's what Jesus said. I came to free those that were sick, come to heal those that were sick, free those that were bound. He didn't come for the people that are already healthy. He came for the people that was in the impoverished state. He came for us, for you and I. So won't you assist us by going to the homepage of MakeThemSeeTheTruth.org and click on the red button. Why don't you make contact if it is someone that you know, or maybe even yourself, that is experiencing a medical problem, that is experiencing a legal matter, that is experiencing a spiritual poverty. Fill out the third page. On the third page, click on that link and fill out the application and hit the submit button, and it'll come directly to us. We want to help you. We want to make you sure that you grow into your greatness, because God helps us grow into our greatness. He uses his creation to help other creations grow into their greatness. We're going to let our haters push us into our greatness as well. All things will work together for the good of those who love our God, according to his plan and purposes. Those who have been called, who answers the calling, not according to our plan and purposes, not according to the world's plan and purposes, not even according to the courtrooms, the judges, the prosecutors' plans and purposes. This comes down to what God wants. So he wants what's best for us. You have to cry out for that. You're going to find how to do that in series 2. You may even see a little bit of it in series 1. But every time Make Them See the Truth opens our mouth, you're going to hear about it. Why? Because it's the truth. It's our job. It's what we've been commissioned to do. We have a compassion for doing so we don't mind clocking in and giving it to you. Again, thank you for your time. This is Brother Herman of Make Them See the Truth. May God bless us all. Remember, each one teaches one. Iron sharpens iron. Don't worry about your haters. Use that to fuel yourself and push you into your greatness. Have a good night.